All right, so for our second head-to-head, happened on December 9th, 1996. We'll start with Nitro. The show opens up with Piper's music, and Piper receives a good reaction from the crowd. We're finally getting some star power here. So this leads into an opening promo from Roddy Piper. Piper says that the last time they saw him, the NWO was talking about his hip and pounding on his leg. Piper tells us that he is going to tell us something that no one else will. He starts talking about his kids and how he has to win this fight for them. Piper then talks about some things he's ashamed of. He says he's ashamed of the fact that one of his sons told him that he shouldn't be fighting Hogan since he only has one leg. So he feels sort of ashamed. Piper says that he guesses he's supposed to be ashamed of being a gimp, but he says that didn't stop Bo Jackson and it won't stop him. And Piper says the other thing that he's ashamed about was a boxing match against Mr. T. He always has to bring that shit up.
Always has to do a dig in there.
If you listen to any shoot interviews he's done, even way after this WCW run ended, he still talks about it. He cannot stand Mr. T. He hated that whole deal. But Piper continues on. He tells Hogan that he has nothing against the NWO, and he says he is not with the WCW. He is with Roddy Piper. And then Piper starts trying to make fun of the NWO, starting talking about how there's a bunch of guys in a room together with no women. Piper really loved making some gay references in his promos.
Yeah, he did.
Especially in WCW, about every single one of them had something in it. I guess he did in WWF too, and in the Goldust feud. But then Piper ends his segment by telling Hogan to come on out, and he waits for him. But of course, Hogan doesn't come out, so he eventually leaves. Not a bad promo from Piper. If you like Piper's promos, you'll like this. And the crowd loved it, but those gay references are always just kind of annoying at this point. But the first match for Nitro, geez, look at this matchup. Mike Enos versus M. Wall Street.
Yeah.
And on commentary, Tony Schiavone does his best to hype this up, but he lies his ass off, and he says that Mike Enos and Michael Wall Street have impressive win-loss records. The only thing impressive is the number of losses both men have.
Yeah, they have impressive loss records, you mean?
Yeah. Nice try, Schiavone, but we have eyes, and we have brains, and we kind of remember never seeing these two win a match. But either way, this match is 1 minute 36 seconds, so during the match, Ted DiBiase makes his way to ringside with a contract in hand, and I wonder which of these two is going to go to. But Mike Enos, for some reason, thinks it's for him, so he takes a look at it. But Wall Street comes in, and he hits the stock market crash for the win, and DiBiase hands the contract to Wall Street, who signs it, and now he is presumably a part of the NWO.
I don't know what the hell they were thinking, putting Wall Street in the NWO.
No, it's just because the IRS and DiBiase.
Yeah, it's because of DiBiase, but yeah.
The point of this was, of course, to team both DiBiase and Wall Street back up, but I don't feel like anyone cares. Like, we didn't need to do this again. So, a waste of time, and of course, Wall Street is going to be part of the infamous NWO bloat that's going to be coming. But after that match, we get a recap of the Saturday night show. We see footage of Woman sitting next to Benoit at the restaurant. It's kind of a odd promo, but Woman tells Sullivan that when she told him that he can't find her, she meant it. And she also meant it when she told Sullivan that if he kicked Benoit one more time, it was over, and she meant that too. She tells Sullivan that it is not 1950 anymore, and she can do what she wants when she wants. Benoit tells Sullivan that he needs some sense kicked into him, and says Sullivan talks about being the best chess player, but Benoit says that his bishop took Sullivan's queen, and then they drink some wine together. After the video, we see Sullivan has been watching the video, and he is speechless. He is not happy at all. The video, I think, was effective. It made things feel a little more personal between them, and it was finally starting to say something in these things instead of being cryptic. Yeah. So I'm glad we can move to something here. But then we move on to our second match. It is Hugh Morris versus Renegade with his best friend Joe Gomez here. Match takes place 3 minutes, 1 second. I had to finish. Do you care about anything else in the match?
No.
Okay. Hugh Morris wins this match with a picture-perfect, no laughing matter, a beaut. After the match, Hugh Morris goes to bless us with another no laughing matter, but Joe Gomez ruins the fun, and he pulls his buddy, the Renegade, out of the ring like the asshole he is.
Yeah, prick.
Then, after that match, we see Kevin Sullivan approach the announce team, and he says he needs to talk to Tony Schiavone. So we have a promo segment here. Sullivan tells Schiavone that he saw the video they played on Saturday night, and he tells Schiavone that they should have asked him before airing that video because that tape was not sent to the WCW. It was sent to him. And my thought was, then who the hell sent it to WCW, Sullivan, if it was sent to you?
Yeah, did you give it to the truck?
But Sullivan calls Shivani a pawn because we got to get more chess references in here. And Sullivan says he has a personal life and that video affected somebody he knows really bad. And he says the next time that they have something to show, he doesn't care about ratings because he has someone to take care of at home. Who this is, I guess we'll see. As far as the Sullivan promo at this point, he wasn't speaking in vague riddles, so this was actually a fine promo from him.
He didn't ramble as he normally did.
I want to get your thoughts on this one. After that, we get an oddly edited Sting video that recaps his exploits the past few weeks. The video has, the song they use for it is the weird part to me. It's Holding Out for a Hero.
Yeah, the Bonnie Tyler song. I need a hero.
Yeah, I was like, man, obviously in the network they don't play that song, but
You can find it, I believe, on Daily Motion or YouTube. They have it.
What song do they play on?
Yeah. I think it's just generic theme.
Them playing that song on it, it doesn't fit Sting, and it's laying it on a bit thick, I thought.
Yeah.
But then after that, we get a ramp interview with Kevin Green. Green gets a nice hometown welcome. He plays for the Panthers, and the Panthers, I looked it up, at this point in time that he's talking, the Panthers are 10-4. A very good record. Kevin Green tells us that he is coming after Mongo in the offseason because he sold him out earlier this year. What was it, Bash at the Beach?
Yeah.
Green says the NWO is crap, and if he ever gets a shot at Hulk Hogan, he will rename him Chokin' Hogan, since he would have his fist down Hogan's throat. Yeah, Kevin Green's a better wrestler than talker. That's all I'll say. But he's actually a pretty decent wrestler. But let's go over to Raw, see what we got going on. Raw opens up with a big match on paper. We have champion versus champion. We have WWF champion Sycho Sid versus Intercontinental champion Triple H.
you would think this would be like the main event, you know. But I mean, the main event that they do have is not too bad choice either.
So yeah, champion versus champion. But the bad thing is, I don't know if this is part of his punishment because this match only lasts 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Sid gets a choke slam and powerbomb on Triple H early on in the match, but he doesn't get the pin at that point because he then taunts with the crowd, and Triple H rolls out of the ring, and Triple H continues crawling up the aisleway, and Sid wins by countout. So we hit the powerbomb and choke slam, and we still didn't get a pinfall victory.
No pinfall.
But this match itself was pointless. To have the Intercontinental Champion get dominated this way when he has a match against Mero this upcoming Sunday to defend his title doesn't make any sense at all.
No.
They could have done this match with anybody on this card. Like I said, 2 minutes, 30 seconds, pretty much the only moves that would hit with a chokeslam and powerbomb. Get the goon out here if you want to do that and do a job him out. Don't have him go 5 minutes last week with Flash Funk. Get him out here to be jobbed out. So I don't get it, but just damn, what is going on with Vince booking at this point? But then we'll go to our second match. It is Goldust with Marlena versus Bart Gunn. During Bart Gunn's entrance, we see footage of Bart Gunn versus Hunter Hearst Helmsley from Superstars, where Bart Gunn had Triple H beaten for the Intercontinental title. But Billy Gunn came into the ring to break the count, causing a disqualification. And then Triple H pedigreed Bart Gunn, and then Triple H and Billy Gunn continued beating up Bart Gunn after the match. So not only was Triple H dominating here, he was almost beaten by Bart Gunn on the Saturday show for the Intercontinental title. This is all leading up to a match that we're supposed to care about seeing between Mark Mero and Triple H. I don't get it.
Nope.
But during the actual match, we also cut the footage of Billy Gunn backstage. He tells us that he was the one carrying the smoking guns. He carried Bart Gunn this whole time, and he says he will whoop Bart's tail back to Texas. And Vince tells us that next week we will have a match between the two. That's exciting if you care about, air quotes, brother versus brother matches. But during this match, we see Marlena distract the ref so Goldust can throw some glitter in Bart Gunn's face. Somehow, the ref didn't see the glitter over the ring, so the match continues on. But Goldust wins this match after hitting Bart Gunn with a chop block. Kind of a weird finish.
Yeah, it was a little weird.
Very bizarre. But I guess that makes sense for the bizarre one, Goldust. But then after the match, Billy Gunn comes out. He gets on the mic, and he tells Bart Gunn that he is nothing without him, and this is what happens when he is not around. Bart Gunn punches Billy a few times, and Billy Gunn scurries to the back. So let's go back to Nitro, where we go to our third match. It is Jimmy Graffiti versus Dean Malenko for the Cruiserweight title. And for a Nitro match, they actually gave this some time.
Yeah, it was like 7 minutes.
But once again, for this, Sonny Ono comes out. He again takes some pictures of the match. Just really wants to take pictures of Dean Malenko. And they say it's for scouting, but couldn't Ultimo Dragon just get the footage of Nitro to scout? But whatever.
No, he wants to get up there personal.
But this match is somewhat competitive match. Jimmy Graffiti is able to get some nice moves in here. Malenko later returns a favor. He hits a nice side suplex for a 2 count. And he hits Nice looking top rope superplex. And the finish for this match is Jimmy Graffiti stun guns Malenko, and he goes for a suplex, but Malenko reverses that suplex into a pin for the win. And after the match, a busted lip Malenko talks to the camera and tells Sonny Ono and the Ultimate Dragon that the title is with him. This match wasn't too bad. Junior Graffiti is just not a very exciting opponent because they're not doing it with him. But after that match, we go to a ramp interview with Sonny Ono. Gene tells Sonny Ono that he irritates people, and Sonny Ono responds saying that he's not irritating. This is bickering between these two. But Gene notices something. He noticed that Sonny Ono has dropped his accent. And Ono responds in his normal voice saying the reason he speaks with an accent is because this country is so great that if he speaks with an accent, he gets things for free, like free education, free housing, and sometimes even free money. And I bet you the blue-collar fans did not like hearing that.
Oh, yeah, they probably hated that.
Sonny Ono moves on to business, and he says the Ultimate Dragon will beat Dean Malenko. And when he finished talking, Sonny Ono made me laugh. He pulled out one of them small, but Sonny Ono made me laugh. He pulled out one of them small U.S. flags to show just how much he loves this country. But we'll move to the next match, and it is the Nasty Boys versus the Faces of Fear with Jimmy Hart. Of course, with these two brawling teams, the match goes right into a brawl as Barbarian and Knobs fight in the ring while Ming and Sags fight on the outside. We also see Scott Hall and Kevin Nash come out while showing off their shiny tag team titles. The match continues on, and Sags leaves the ring, and Ming hits Sags in the back with a chair. And then Barbarian grabs Sags and holds him so Ming can unleash some fury on him. And he follows up that offensive flurry with another chair shot. If you're asking how the ref isn't seeing this, the ref is distracted because he is dealing with Brian Knobbs complaining. And I'll fast forward here. Barbarian goes for a flying headbutt but misses, so Sags is able to tag in Knobbs. And again, the match descends into chaos and a brawl between all the men. Brian Knobbs later on does hit a mid-rope splash from Barbarian, and he goes for the pin, but the ref is dealing with Ming and Sags once again fighting on the outside. So Jimmy Hart takes it upon himself to hit Knobbs with the megaphone, but instead of actually doing that, he accidentally hits Barbarian instead, and then Knobbs tosses Jimmy Hart on the outside of the ring. And he goes to pin Barbarian, but Barbarian is able to get up from the megaphone hit, and he hits Knobbs with the megaphone. And the ref finally gets back into the ring, and he counts to 3. Kind of a chaotic match, a clusterfuck of an ending.
Very disjointed.
Super overbooked match, but you expect it between these teams. But at least the right team won. I was getting concerned.
At least the right team won.
And I would like to see them have a match with outsiders, without the Nasty Boys being involved. And we'll see if we get it. But after this, we get a ramp interview with Ric Flair. Rick comes out this week without the shoulder brace, so that's good. He's recovering. Ric Flair tells Roddy Piper to come on out, and Piper does. Flair tells Piper the term icon is passed around way too easily these days, but he tells Piper that he is truly a professional wrestling icon. And Flair offers the Horseman to be at Piper's side at Starrcade because Flair wants to see Hogan get his ass whooped. Piper appreciates the offer, but he doesn't want anyone's help. He says he is coming with all the guts in the world to beat Hogan, and he says if he can't do that by himself, then he couldn't live with himself. And he tells Hogan that Hogan will be his at Starrcade. And then Flair and Piper leave together with their arms around each other's shoulders like the good buddies that they are. But we'll go to the 5th match for Nitro, and it is Bobby Eaton versus Chris Jericho. And during the match, we get a pre-recorded Chris Jericho video. Jericho says everyone wants to talk about the NWO, but he wants to talk about the WCW and how the WCW will prevail. Jericho says he is not done with Nick Patrick and will get even more revenge on Nick, and he can't wait. So we'll see. But for this match, Jericho hits the lion salt for a 2 count. I don't think they're calling it lion salt at this point, but he does hit it. But later on, Eaton hits an electric chair drop, and he goes for the Alabama Jam, but Jericho moves out of the way, allowing him to hit a missile dropkick for the win. This match ended in 2 minutes and 33 seconds. They just need to hurry up and change Jericho's finisher to the Lion Tamer and the Lion Salt because a missile dropkick for the win is weak.
It's coming, but you gotta wait a little bit.
Yeah, it's just a weak finish. But correct winner, Jericho should be being built up, so I'm fine with that. Before we go to Raw, I'll quickly go with this ramp interview with the Steiner brothers. Rick Steiner essentially just says that they are waiting for Sting, and he looks around for him, and then Scott Steiner tells Sting that, again, they are waiting for him. So it's just a waste of time segment. The point is, The Steiner brothers are here and they're looking for Sting. We'll see if they get him. But let's go back over to Raw, where we go to a pre-match video with Zebekiah and Justin Hawk Bradshaw. Zeb tells Jesse James that he can't beat the both of them, and Bradshaw tells Jesse James that he must be stupid if he thinks he can beat them. And he tells Jesse that he won't be out there singing. He will be out there squealing after they put the branding iron on Jesse's booty. And he says booty. It's actually pretty bad. And I don't think anyone's going to be squealing when they put a stamp on, but that's neither here nor there.
No.
But, of course, this leads into the third match, which is Bradshaw and Zebekiah versus Jesse James in a handicap match.
This will get the ratings.
Yep, this will do it. This will do it, Vince. But during the match, we see Bradshaw get a hold of Jesse James, and Zebekiah goes to hit him with the branding iron, but Jesse James moves out of the way, and Zeb then accidentally hits Bradshaw with it, allowing Jesse James to pick up the victory in 5 minutes and 51 seconds. And then after the match, Bradshaw punches Zebekiah and then hits the clothesline from hell on him, and then brands Zebekiah and exits the ring. So this, of course, looks like Zebekiah is out of here. Maybe even the Justin Hawk Bradshaw character is out of here. We'll see what happens with him. But I'm happy that Zebekiah and Bradshaw are splitting up because it wasn't going anywhere.
No, yeah, it was time.
But then after that match, we get a Bret Hart in-ring interview. Bret Hart says for 7 months, he thought about being the WWF champion again. And he says he wants the title, but Sid is standing in his way. Hart says when Sid snaps, they call him a psycho. But when Bret Hart snaps, they call him WWF champion. That was a good line there, Bret.
Yeah.
But Bret Hart ends it with saying that Sid will be excellently executed at In Your House. This is a pretty good promo from Bret Hart. I know people say he can't do it, but at this point in time, from here on forward, he is going to be pretty damn decent at these promos.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back over to Nitro. The sixth match is Sergeant Craig Pittman versus Arn Anderson with Mongo McMichael and Deborah. And if anyone cares, Sergeant Pittman now has a mustache, if anyone cares about that. But during this match, we get a Kevin Sullivan pre-recorded video. Sullivan asks Arn Anderson what he would do without his kids, and he says next week, him and Anderson will heat up his life, and there's nothing in his life but Anderson. But during this match, Mongo McMichael hits Sergeant Pittman with the Halliburton, and he rolls Pittman back into the ring so Arn can hit the DDT for the win. But this was another quick nothing match, but the crowd liked the DDT. But after the match, we then lead into a ramp interview with Arn Anderson and Mongo McMichael. Arn once again asks, "Where's Woman?" And then Deborah interrupts, and she starts talking bad about Woman, of course. But Mongo tells Benoit to come home, and he tells Woman he has a bone to pick with her. So just more dissension in the Horsemen, even though last week we said that we're uniting. But I thought Deborah kind of murdered this promo, and not in a good way. This was a below par promo from the Horsemen. It seems like when the Horsemen talk these days, nothing really matters. So that's not good for the Horsemen. It's one of the best factions of all time. We kind of
a bunch of waffling.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of nothing these days. But we are now up to the main events for both shows. So we'll go to Raw's. We'll see if it lives up to the big names. But before the match, we see footage of Mankind in Dubai, where he was sitting in sand, yelling for Paul Bearer to take him away from all of this and bring him home. It was weird, but that's Mankind for you. So the main event is Mankind with Paul Bearer versus The Undertaker in a no-holds-barred match. But early on in this match, The Undertaker hits a choke slam and he goes for the tombstone, but the Executioner comes down and The Undertaker sees him coming, so he lets go of Mankind and he chases after the Executioner as we go to commercial. So then after commercial, I know, right? Executioner, that's always a good time. But then after commercial, we see The Undertaker slam Mankind's hand with the steel steps. Can't put that mandible claw on if his hands hurt. Vince, during this, announces that at In Your House this Sunday, there will be an Armageddon Rules match between The Undertaker and the Executioner. If that don't make you buy the pay-per-view, I don't know what will. And what is the Armageddon Rules match? Well, you just have to tune in to find out. But later in the match, they go outside of the ring, and The Undertaker hits Mankind with a scoop slam onto the announce table, but it doesn't break, unfortunately. Mankind is able to recover, and he goes to hit The Undertaker with a chair, but The Undertaker punches the chair, much like Big Show used to do, and it goes straight into Mankind's face. And The Undertaker eventually wins this match with the tombstone. And then after the match, the Executioner comes out, and he drives the Asiatic spike into The Undertaker's neck. The Undertaker is out on the mat as Raw ends. They're, of course, trying to get you to care about this Executioner-Undertaker match, which we all know that no one cares. But they're trying. But
No,
as for this
not at
match,
all.
this match wasn't as good as the other encounters between Mankind and Undertaker, but it still wasn't bad. Certainly better than anything that was on last week's Nitro or Raw. So I'll give him credit there. This Raw at least was a step up from last week's, a significant step up. It still wasn't great, but it's still a step up. But for the pay-per-view, it's not shaping up to be a good card. We got Executioner versus Undertaker, Mark Merrow versus Triple H, who's been kind of jobbed out these past few weeks. We do get Sid versus Bret. That's like the only one good one that's been announced so far. We'll see what the rest of the matches are when we review the In Your House It's Time pay-per-view. But we'll see what Nitro has in store for the main event. And the main event tonight is Diamond Dallas Page versus Jeff Jarrett in a U.S. title tournament match. For the match, the two go back and forth with some chain wrestling to start. The crowd boos Jarrett hard after he hits DDP with an enziguri and starts strutting. Jarrett later in the match hits a rebound suplex, and then he follows it up with an ugly diving fist. Ugh. But DDP...
Yeah, I didn't like it.
No, it just wasn't... for a man who hits good punches, it just wasn't good. But later, DDP hits a nice clothesline on Jarrett. The match goes to the outside, and the Outsiders at this time run down to the ring, and when the ref are kind of dealing with Nash being out there, Scott Hall sneaks around, and he sneaks behind Jarrett, and he hits the Outsiders' edge on him, and DDP gets back into the ring and covers Jarrett for the win. And the announcers try to tell us that DDP didn't know that Hall had done that to Jeff Jarrett, but it makes no sense because, I mean, DDP knows that Jeff Jarrett just wasn't laying out, so how did he get that way? But whatever. But after the match, we go to an interview with Diamond Dallas Page. Gene informs Diamond Dallas Page that Hall and Nash aided him tonight, and Gene wants to know the score. DDP says he doesn't need Hall and Nash since he is the hottest finisher, and he has been trying to tell the Outsiders that he doesn't need their help, and he's going to tell them one last time he does not need their help. He wants to do his own thing, and they can do their thing. He asks the Outsiders, where were they 3 years ago when he was voted the most improved wrestler in the world? He says that shows that he didn't need them then, and he doesn't need them now. And DDP once again tells the NWO to leave him alone. And then Gene asks Diamond Dallas Page about the U.S. title, and DDP says nobody wants that title more than him, and then the segment ends. Best match on Nitro tonight, by far.
Mm-hmm.
They gave it some time. I don't have the official time, but I think it was fairly long.
I have 9 minutes 44, so around 10 minutes.
That's pretty good for Nitro these days. So a good segment here. But then after that, we're not done yet. We got another segment. Rick Steiner's music comes out, but he doesn't come out. And instead, Roddy Piper music's hit. And we get to see him for the third time tonight. So we go into a Piper promo. But I don't understand why Rick Steiner didn't come out.
I don't know.
They said they were waiting for him all night, and yet, I'm just going to let you know, nothing happens between Sting and Rick Steiner tonight.
Yeah.
Very weird. That's frustrating when WCW does that bait and switch.
Yeah, and they do that a lot, and it's frustrating.
But we'll go to the Piper promo. Piper says he is tired of talking and it's time to do some fighting. The NWO's music hits, and unfortunately, it's only Bischoff that comes out. And this week, he has a goatee this week, by the way. As Bischoff is making his way down the ramp, a fan absolutely nails Bischoff with a drink.
Yep.
And he is soaked. I mean, he got the liquid and everything on him. It wasn't just a glancing blow here. Bischoff gets in a ring and he tells Piper that the NWO is not here right now as they have left the building. Yeah, sure thing. We'll see if he's telling the truth. Bischoff tells Piper that he is his friend and he didn't sign Piper to save him from himself. Bischoff says Hogan's 24-inch pythons are going to squash Piper like a grape. Bischoff continues on. He calls Piper a gimp, and Piper's tired of being called a gimp. He lands a shot to Bischoff's head. It sounded like a legit punch, too. But then he picks...
pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. And then he picks up a chair, and he goes to hit Bischoff with it, but the NWO, again, no Hogan, they come out, and Piper is momentarily able to fend them off with the chair, and the crowd is red hot as this happening. They want to see this. And then Kevin Green runs out to help Piper in the ring. Nitro ends with Green and Piper holding off the NWO as we've run out of time this week. We've run out of time yet again. I know Hogan's out doing a movie, but this is the third straight week building up to this pay-per-view with them for Starrcade, their biggest pay-per-view. And Hogan has not been here.
Yeah, it's really frustrating.
But I would say this was a pretty good segment. The crowd was hot for this. And at this time, you just don't get this energy from the crowds in WWF like you do for WCW. But overall, this is still not a great Nitro. I wouldn't say it's bad either. But they are still doing better than Raw.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I would say,
I still pick Nitro this week.
Yeah, and I would agree. Nitro still wins. Raw was better this week, but still wasn't good enough. These Nitros are not great themselves, but they are just a tick better. And again, they have 2 hours versus 1, so we can at least have more chances for success here on Nitro.
And Nitro won the week 3.3 to 2.3, so almost the exact same rating as the week prior. Last week was 3.4 to 2.3.
So there you go. Nitro wins yet again. Next, what we have is the In Your House is Time pay-per-view for WWF. We'll see if that's a good show. Stay tuned for that. We'll see you on the next one.